Welcome, gamers, weebs, and nerds alike. Openings to games are some of the most important sections and can make or break the initial experience. They need to hook the gamer in and introduce them to the main plot and gameplay in fun and exciting ways. So in today's video, we're going to go through our 10 best games that excel at hitting the ground running and giving us the best openings in gaming. Make sure to subscribe for more geek content, and let's dive into the list.
Starting us off, we have Resident Evil 4. The Resident Evil series has reinvented itself more times than most other series, jumping from survival horror to action game to pure horror and back again. You can never foresee what each entry will be, and each can thankfully be enjoyed independently if you don't want to slog through the seemingly endless entries in the series. The player journey begins in a remote Spanish village to save the president's kidnapped daughter, but almost immediately it's beset by the parasitic zombified villagers, un forastero, one of whom is wielding a chainsaw. Though the game has taken the franchise to a new era of action-oriented gameplay, it's still downright terrifying to experience this for the first time. Resident Evil 4 set a precedent. That over-the-shoulder, precise aiming that's become so common, especially now in the survival horror genre, was popularized here. And that slow prowl through the village, trying not to give your position away to the villagers before it all upends itself, is exhilarating. You have more options than ever before, yet every shot still counts. Those options make you tactical, and the village lets you feel your strengths and weaknesses all in one. The slow, methodical crawl through this opening section really sets the tone for all of what's to come in this entry for the RE series. For that reason, and for all the innovations in the genre that RE4 made, it lands itself on our list.
Now we have Mass Effect 3. I thought long and hard about this one, as Mass Effect 2 has such a great opening with the Normandy ship and crew just getting absolutely decimated along with Shepard himself. But the surreal nature of the Reapers finally showing up, the absolute horror and destruction you see them bring, teaming up with Anderson only to have him send you off world to get reinforcements as he leads the assault on Earth. And then seeing the hordes of Reapers descending on Earth as you fly away, seeing Earth on the verge of being destroyed, really sets the stakes for the game and how important all of your choices and missions will be. Throughout the previous two games, we are constantly alluded to how dangerous the Reaper threat is, and now it's on our very doorstep, which immediately just hooks the player. It does a good job of introducing some new mechanics, the smoother combat, and setting the tone of the game. While 2 has the better surprise, the way 3 handles setting the stage makes it overall the better opening in my opinion.
Next up, you have BioShock. Alright, let me set the scene for you. It's 1960 and we're on a plane that's doomed to crash in the Atlantic Ocean, near an ominous shadowy lighthouse. This lighthouse is built by the suave monopolistic industrialist Andrew Ryan. Ryan's golden face is the first thing that you see when you enter, accompanied by the glorious slogan of "No gods or kings, only man." Realizing that this place may not be all that its exterior would have you believe, you come across a bathysphere and begin to descend into the ocean that you nearly just died in, while listening to a pre-recorded speech from Ryan about his perfect world utopia ideology. But nothing can prepare you for the first moment you see Rapture. Manhattan under the sea in all its decaying mid-century glory. But even more surprising is as soon as you touch down, all that beauty you just saw is immediately overshadowed by the oldest pastime in the book: murder. In the first 10 minutes, we've seen all the game's core elements. Ryan, the city, the splicers, plasmids, Mr. Bubbles and the Little Sisters. They really wasted absolutely no time setting up the atmosphere and mechanics that you'll be in for throughout the duration of this thrilling ride. If you haven't played it for yourself, would you kindly pick it up and experience the masterful opening and overall gem that BioShock is for yourself?
Next, we have probably our newest game on this list, Black Myth Wukong. Yes, this game just came out, but its opening is so good I couldn't leave it off this list. Looking at absolute giants as Sun Wukong and then flying over on the Nimbus to be greeted by not only 3 to 4 giants, but a whole battalion of soldiers. This gave off Asura's Wrath vibes in the best ways, showing the scale of the world and enemies that you'll be fighting in this game. Then you get a pretty darn good tutorial fight against Erlong, which is just pure cinema. The way the clouds interact with the character models is extremely impressive, the abilities you can use are fun, and it does a good job at teaching you the introduction to the combat. The biggest thing about this is just how freaking cool it looks as Sun Wukong is duking it out, the pure massive scale of their abilities and how beautiful it all looks. This does a great job at hooking the player and getting them ready to start their journey to the West.
Next, we have Skyrim. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim really doesn't need an introduction. We've all played it, and it's been ported almost as many times as the original Doom at this point. Skyrim is a gorgeous game with such a long-lasting appeal, and the opening is, for better or worse, unforgettable. Memed into oblivion, no pun intended, the opening begins like almost every other Elder Scrolls game. You are a prisoner being transported somewhere. Yes, the opening has instilled a fear in everyone for a bleary-eyed awakening into a moving carriage, but it does set the scene so well in those moments of silence, while being guided to your execution, only for everything to go awry. This opening does a perfect job of easing you into the world of Skyrim by introducing you to the major factions at play in the story. You get to learn about the ongoing civil war between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks, as well as you get a small bit of info on the Thalmor, who pull the strings of the Empire behind closed doors, and once control is let over to the player, you get to make your first choice of sides in this conflict. However, you're not locked into this decision. So love it or hate it, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim has one of the best opening sequences out there. Only one question remains: Age of Oppression or Age of Aggression?
Next we have God of War Ragnarok. After the award-winning critical and consumer success that God of War was, and with the huge cliffhanger it left on, Ragnarok had some pretty big shoes to fill in, and boy did it do it beautifully. We get some nice scenes with Kratos and Atreus before we see Freya, who's now understandably pissed after what they did to Baldur. After she's driven off, we get back to some nice scenes with them and the wolves that Atreus is tending to, then it all culminates in us finally meeting Thor and Odin, the main antagonists of the game. Their entrance was awe-inducing, with Odin just wanting to talk and strike a deal, even though Thor wants Kratos' head like, kind of every other god. I mean, he did kill his sons. The confrontation is done well, and their setup as the main villains of the game was very well written and acted. We then get a fun tutorial fight against the big man, ending with Mjolnir and Leviathan meeting and ending in a stalemate. Just like Wukong, this opening is just pure cinema and perfectly combines great looking set pieces, good tutorial, and great story to be a fantastic intro to the game.
Next up, we have The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. While open worlds are nothing new for the world of gaming, Breath of the Wild awakens something in the game industry from the opening moments all the way to the thrilling conclusion of this masterpiece. If Nintendo, famed for utilizing the same series for literal decades, could make such a drastic departure from its formula, well then perhaps others could follow suit, though very, very few have yet to truly capture that magical feeling. Breath of the Wild had a strong sense of what it wanted to be. Rather than treading old ground, the game has you awaken into shadowed mystery, armed with little more than the knowledge of your name, your underwear, and your newly found Sheikah slate. And once you gather yourself and venture forward, you find yourself atop a cliff overlooking a vast expanse. Stood atop that cliff, you feel unstoppable, and yet unbelievably small. With that simple shot, the world was given so much character of its own. Will you head to Hyrule Castle, the volcanic mountains, or the lush forests ahead of you? With so much player-driven possibility, this opening sequence comfortably sets itself high atop our list.
Now we have Dead Space 2. This is probably one of the best openings of a horror game of all time. After the horror of the first game, things can't get much worse for Isaac, can they? Well, in the first 5 seconds, we're being woken up while in a straitjacket and already think shit has hit the fan. Then we see a guy trying to help us get impaled by a necromorph claw and absolutely eviscerated. The tone and fear are off the charts, forcing the player to run away helpless as numerous necromorphs hunt you down. Start to get a decent grasp of the mechanics and where your health bar is. The ambience is immaculate as we are on another crap show of a ship station. Just slightly later we get to see another guy go insane. You get the plasma cutter and the action section of the game is introduced, and the player gets a full grasp of what they're in for. This opening does everything right in terms of gameplay and atmosphere and immediately grabs the player for the whole runtime.
Last up for me on this list, we have Fallout New Vegas. Even in its worst games, Fallout has a long tradition of outstanding opening sequences, but New Vegas just might be the best of the best. We get the usual patented slow zoom out that was first seen in the original game, but the plot is also established very rapidly. We hear the velvet chords of Frank Sinatra's Blue Moon ring out. Then we see a surprisingly unscorched Lucky 38 resort and the intact Las Vegas Strip. We see NCR soldiers, as well as a cutthroat ranger drop a fiend. We see Legion soldiers skulking about as if prepping an ambush in the dark, until finally we arrive in Goodsprings, where it turns out we've been captured by Matthew Perry in a checkered suit. Rest in peace, by the way, who delivers one of gaming's most iconic lines and then shoots you in the face. In a matter of minutes, you see the technology, the setting, the key factions, and the story. That's a straight flush. Then, the opening section of gameplay in Goodsprings shows off nearly every system New Vegas has to offer, from the crafting, the survival, and repair systems to how interacting with different NPCs and even whole factions via the many different special stats and perks can reward or even outright doom you or your whole group of people. It can be understandable how some players could get lost in the sea of browns and grays present in this opening section, but trust us, once you power through once and see all of what New Vegas has to offer, you'll be coming back for more of this amazing opening.
Last but by far not least, we have Nier Automata, which executes the intro perfectly. You immediately get into the combat with mech section bullet hell and getting a good overall feel of how those sections play out before heading straight into the meat of the gameplay in the melee combat. The visuals are amazing, and the soundtrack makes you excited, yet keeps you on edge. You get the crux of the story as you learn about the fight of humanity against the machine life forms, as the intro moves you through the different gameplay sequences you'll see in the game. The big fight against the Colossus is downright awesome, and helps give a view of the scale of some of the fights you'll see in the game, before ending on a beautifully cinematic explosion as 2B and 9S combine their black boxes before returning to the Yorha main base. This opening does everything right, from the ease and teaching of all the different gameplay sections to just having pure fun and cinematic flair. It just makes you want to play more of it until you're 5 runs deep into the 26 different endings.
Thank you for watching. Leave a comment down below letting us know what some of your top picks for the best openings in gaming are. The truth is, the list was rigged from the start. Now don't forget to like and subscribe as it goes a long way. Be sure to check out our various socials like TikTok and Twitch for more geeky goodness. Until next time, keep on geeking on.